Good morning. Mwasizemtia. Habari ya leo. Hope you are doing fine. This is Smart Means Business. I'm Joram Ssonko. Now we kick off this hour with our business tip of the day. Now the business tip says, tell your story visually. Visuals can help your message become actionable. Things like video, whiteboards, images, or other pictures will show how your prospects' problems will be solved with what you're selling. By using messages, you create contrast, for example, which can create the feeling of urgency, which will help you close the sale. The business tip says, tell your story visually. And besides that, we get motivation from our business quote as we kickstart off the business day. Samuel Beckett, an Irish avid and God novelist and playwright, says, ever tried, ever failed, no matter. Try again, fail better. That if you've ever tried and you failed, that doesn't matter. You have to try again, maybe fail again, but you're this time failing better because you're failing with a little bit more of experience. With time, you'll be coping up with it. That is our business quote this morning. Now, I did mention that when we head to our social media trends this morning, we are definitely going to be rotating around the NSSF. Of course, yesterday, NSSF, besides the fact that they want to expand the number of employers to 50,000 in the next 5 years, they want to have over 50,000. They want to have more 50,000 employers by the next 5 years. Now, with the addition of the 50,000, they also want the 50,000 should be registered. They want an addition of 50,000 employers registered in the next 5 years. Now, with that, they want at least 1.2 million employees as well registered with the fund. That means that is 1.2 million of these employees remitting savings to the NSSF. Besides that, NSSF had to give employers a 30-day ultimatum to at least remit or register these particular funds to the fund. Of course, not only that though, by the look of things with the NSSF, you get to realize that they also added the SME sector into the context where they have to make sure that whether you have less than 5 employees, so regardless of the number of employees, you have to at least register them and they have to be remitting their savings to the fund. And of course, with the Twitter of NSSF Uganda showing the fund announcing a 30-day window for all employers to register with NSSF in compliance of the NSSF Amendment Act of 2022, which introduced mandatory contribution by all workers, regardless of the size of the enterprise or number of employees. They use the hashtag #NowYouCan. So you can easily do so if you are part of the National Social Security Fund. You need to be part of the ever-growing fund of NSSF. So this is something that continuously grows on. And of course, with the social media trends that we do have, you realize there are different Ugandans reacting, different organizations reacting, as NSSF's Twitter handle had that to say. And also, besides that, Honorable Nathan at Nathan Nwagira 2 says, Bana Uganda, how did the NSSF saga end? This country laughs too much. Of course, at the start of the year, the NSSF saga was one that was actually amongst the talk in the media, print, through all the mainstream media, print, radio, television, and even on social media. Of course, after it was meeting up at the committee that was led by Honorable Mwine Mpaka. Now, Hilda Namara at Chosen Hills with a tweet, all employers in Uganda, irrespective of the number of workers employed, have only 30 days to register with the National Social Security Fund, NSSF. And according to the NSSF Acting Managing Director, Patrick Ayota, who revealed this yesterday. Now, Muhezi Collins at C. Muhezi says that following the signing into law, the NSSF Act of 2022, NSSF Uganda has given a 30-day ultimatum to all employers to formalize their status before penalties kick in. And of course, you could definitely see everyone was tweeting based on what NSSF revealed as of yesterday, or basing on what NSSF had to, allow people to know. Well, obviously, I did tell you that whether it is irrespective of the people you are employing, as long as you're an employer and you have employees, they are supposed to remit their savings. Now, thank me at Empire Kim with a tweet that could definitely be a humorous one for the moment. Is that a humorous one for the moment, rather? She says, you're busy dating someone who doesn't know NSSF in full and you're comfortable. Well, I don't know if we still have people who don't know what NSSF is in full as of now, because that has been the biggest trend in the latest few weeks since we hit 2023. And of course, regardless of the fact that the case does look like it went to bed, but at least it has been a talk of town for the past few weeks. That's according to Empire Kim, giving us some sense of humor in that tweet for the morning. At the NSSF Uganda's Twitter handle, categories of employers, 1 out of 3. Every employer, both in the SME space and the informal sector, should register. Section 1D of the NSSF Act, as amended, defines an employer to include the government, a company registered or incorporated under the Companies Act of 2012. So if you're a company and you're registered, you're definitely regarded as an employer. And the government, I think an employer is anyone who obviously employs individuals, because if you have a business, you're employing 1 or 2 people. I think some people actually employ relatives and brother and siblings in there. Now, NSSF Uganda, quoting the president of the Federation, John Walugembe, that is the president of the Federation for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, who said, I would like to thank NSSF for working with the Federation of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises in Uganda for the hashtag Now You Can. There are opportunities in regularizing legislation with NSSF, especially for the SMEs who currently dominate Uganda's business terrain. And of course, that is what he was saying in there, representing the SMEs sector, small and medium-sized enterprises, which of course employs most of the Ugandans. Now, Professor Bananga Kevin Robinson at Prof_Bananga says NSSF lost their credibility the moment they started playing with employees' savings. I don't blame employers for not registering with them. They should first sort out the dirt in the inside, or that inside the fund. Now, according to Professor Banga Kevin, he's actually saying NSSF lost credibility after they started playing with, after issues regarding them playing or misusing funds of the savers. So now employers are not registering with them. So for him, he says he doesn't blame employers for not registering with them because he does believe it may be a waste of money. So also, it's like he's trying to say it may be the same issue as to why we have very few voluntary savers with NSSF because of the same matter regarding the allegations and of course all the cases rotating around the National Social Security Fund. Of course, that is it with the reaction on Twitter in the last 12 hours as regards to the SMB social media trends. And besides that, you're still watching Smart Means Business. Hope you are well though, because I am, and the entire team here is doing fine too to make sure that we give you business updates as they happen, as you kickstart off your morning. I want to believe that if you are starting up your day, it is better to start up a day with information. Information comes in various means. It can come through tabloids, it can come through let's say you buying print media, you looking at direct television, and of course you need to at least have an idea of what is happening because lack of awareness is one way you could easily know that you don't have information, because when you lack information at the end of it all, then that means you are definitely doing something you have no idea about, because today you may be selling a product. And of course, there is something to do with an advancement in that particular product, or a product has been banned and you have no idea about it. So it is better you kickstart off your day with business information. And when we talk about business information, we are the channel for you here to make sure that you, a viewer, kickstarts off your morning getting to know of the different business updates coming up, not only in the country or not only within the capital, but of course giving you a stretch within the East African community block as you kickstart off your morning with Smart Means Business. I'm Joram Ssonko. You can follow me up on Twitter at Joram Ssonko, Twitter, and that is Facebook and Instagram as well. Now, of course, as we are heading into other business update this morning, remember to invest in government securities. It's 5 minutes to the time when the Zabo markets will be opened. So what you need to know is as you kickstart off your day, once it clicks 8:15 a.m., all you need to do is use the USSD code *292#, get a 15,000 onto your mobile money account, kickstart off your investment, do some investment today morning and make it easy. How do you invest? All you need to do is invest in government bonds that are available, and of course you choose a preferred maturity period for your bonds. But not only that though, there are other available securities on the platform where you can purchase and sell as well as invest in there. The Zabo markets, like I did mention, will open at 8:15 a.m. It's 11 already. It's 8:11 a.m. now, but at 8:15 they will be open, and they will only be closing at 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. That is from Monday to Friday. They are only fully closed during the weekends and on public holidays. Zabo says my money, my future, and it's powered by Altex East Africa, which says do something new. And now let's look at matters Energy Charter Treaty. These are controversial threats to climate justice and the state sovereignty in here, as the government is set to exit the treaty that undermines climate change. When the update is done, I'll be joined by Andrew Barija here as we will be discussing more to do with this Energy Charter Treaty. What are the provisions within the treaty and what does it mean when government exits this particular one? Jacob Ayeru, who is a chairperson of the National Youth Council, is giving us more details on the matter.
Acceding to the Energy Charter Treaty by a country such as Uganda would be detrimental to both its economy, but also its action towards environmental protection and abating the effects of climate change. The Energy Charter Treaty protects investment in fossil fuel and does not protect actions or policies that are brought up to ensure that governments or actors or investors protect the environments where they are working or they are investing. The common myth for governments in low-income countries is that acceding to the Energy Charter Treaty will increase investment in the energy sector. There is no, at this point, evidence to support that myth. In fact, when you analyze Uganda's foreign direct investment, you will find that countries like China, Kenya, that do not necessarily have these bilateral investment treaties, invest much more in Uganda than countries like the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, with whom we have currently running bilateral investment treaties. So, to assume that by signing the Energy Charter Treaty, we will attract more investment in the energy sector is a myth. So the Energy Charter Treaty protects investment, foreign investors' investment in the energy sector. And it gives these investors the possibility of suing states and governments when they assume or they purport that a policy a government or a state has taken to protect its environment or its citizens impinges on their legitimate expectation of making profit. And some of these lawsuits can be as expensive as $50 billion US, as we've seen in the case of UCOS versus Russia, where UCOS was awarded $50 billion in awards. But the problem with the Energy Charter Treaty as well is that these investors do not sue in national courts. they sue in arbitration tribunals that are controlled or are determined by 3 lawyers. So you can imagine how an entire state like Uganda takes action to protect its citizens or its environment, and then it is sued so that 3 people decide whether Uganda was right or Uganda should compensate an investor in the upwards of millions of US dollars. The plight for us normal people is that these compensations are paid using taxpayers' money. The Energy Charter Treaty is meant to protect the investment of these foreign companies. Energy companies, however, should be liable to environmental, to social, and human rights inadequacies that happen in the communities where they invest. So Uganda does not need an Energy Charter Treaty at the moment. Uganda needs a treaty that will hold companies that are currently investing in the energy sector responsible when environmental catastrophes happen. If their actions lead to an oil spill, for example, if their actions result into unprecedented pollution, if they fail to adhere to the principles or targets set out in the environment and social assessments that are done, then those companies should be liable. Citizens, but also the Ugandan government, should be able to sue in a legally binding manner companies that damage our environment. The best thing that the government can do at the moment is not to accede to this treaty. Alternatively, if the government is really interested in acceding to the treaty, then it should seek a seat on the table. Because it's important to note that the government of Uganda did not participate in the negotiations that resulted into the enactment of this treaty. And therefore, you cannot become a party to a treaty you did not participate in negotiating. So the alternative would be for government of Uganda to push for reforms in this treaty that protect the environment. Number one, the treaty should define who the bad apples are and the good apples are. The treaty should seek to protect investments in good, clean energy. And that is what will help us transition to cleaner energies. Secondly, the government should seek clauses in this treaty that hold investors in the energy sector responsible for their environmental pollution and the environmental effects their investments bring. And companies should be able to pay fines if they do not take corrective measures or preventive measures that protect our environment. And lastly, the issue of legitimate expectation should be done away with. When governments bring up policies or laws that protect the environment, investors should not be able to sue them for acting in public interests. Investors should not be able to sue them for trying to protect their environments.
Well, the Energy Charter Treaty provides a multilateral framework for energy cooperation, and this energy cooperation is a little bit unique under the international law. It is designed, for example, to promote energy security through the operation of more open and competitive energy markets. And tracing back the Energy Treaty, the Energy Charter Treaty was signed in December 1994 and entered into legal force by April 1998. That's after 4 years of the treaty being signed. Then currently there are 53 signatories and contracting parties to the treaty. This include both the European Union and the Eurozone. So the treaty's provisions, like I did mention, we shall look at some of these provisions, focus on 4 broad areas. One, the protection of foreign investment based on the extension of national treatment. That is our most favored national treatment. When you look at it, is protection against skin and commercial risks. And then the non-discriminatory conditions for trade in energy materials. I think when we talk about energy now, this is some of the provisions. Non-discriminatory conditions for trade in energy materials, products and energy-related equipment, which is based on the World Trade Organization rules. And then there are provisions to ensure reliable cross-border energy, which is cross-border energy transit flows through pipelines, grids and other means of transportation. Now, the resolution of disputes between participating states, and in the case of investments, between the investors and the host states. But also, besides that, the promotion of energy efficiency and attempts to minimize the environmental impact of energy production and use are part of the key things that are being discussed here within. So, by the look of things, as we look at why Uganda wants to exit, according to Jacob Ayeru, who is the chairperson of the Ugandan National Youth Council, believes that we are not ready for the treaty as of now. But obviously, when you look at it, there are some controversial threats to climate justice and state sovereignty by us exiting it. Barija Andrew, like I did mention, joins us now on set just to discuss a few of the details within this, within the Energy Charter Treaty and Uganda's position in exiting, and why, then what next, or why should we be part anyway? Because if we exit, then that means we are no longer part of it, not until we accept to stay in the treaty or under the Energy Charter Treaty. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning, Joram. How are you?
I'm okay.
Good.
So, according to the details here, we had Dr. Charles Matei, the ED3 Adoption Uganda, that's still in the energy sector.
Very true.
Then Jacob Ayeru, Chairperson, National Youth Council, added on to it. By the look of things, the Energy Charter Treaty, because some of the provisions here, like I did mention, include non-discriminatory conditions for trade
in energy
materials.
And you know, it was interesting when you mentioned about movement through pipelines, and you know, you realize that, and if it being one of the provisions, meaning as countries, if I possess any energy related material or resources, I am entitled to that, to be able to freely transact, you know, to exchange it to cross-border in a way of that. But that recently, I feel like it kind of, it doesn't, the people that actually put it there are not really respecting the provisions in that, in a way that you find that the most superior powers, you know, find themselves in a place whereby they enter into the affairs of energy in other countries, you know, dictating what should be done, what shouldn't be done, you know, and yet themselves are funding projects in other countries which are degrading the environment. So you find that they talk about all this, but anyway, away from that, I was just trying to show you where the loopholes are into the whole thing. But still, let's get back to environment, you know, climate change, you know, these pipelines. The challenge is in that, we are doing all this, but do we have a strategy on how we plan to avert the possible outcomes of the climate change in the future? You know, if we don't have a way out, then let's find ways that we can actually avert. Either we divert from the treaty and we do it our own way. I'm just thinking, you know, because the environment is very key and it's very priority, most especially to countries like Uganda, whereby we have hope in agriculture as one of our ways, and agriculture relies on climate, the biggest percentage, despite the fact that there is this whole factor of mechanization and, you know, trying to make irrigation schemes artificial, you know, all that tech, but you cannot rule out the natural factor. And it all rotates around energy. Energy really does, you know, because there are two ways in which energy can affect you. We talk about the process of you implementing, for example, pipes. You know, you're going to destroy some energy, like refinery plants. You know, they emit forces, most especially when it comes to oil related, you know, and all that. You know, it's all just into that whole mess regarding all that. We need to understand really what we are getting into as a country, you know, because the underlying factors that, we are looking at prosperity, that's going to be not of much effect if in the future we pollute this environment and we are paying back for those outcomes, you know, in terms of treating diseases, all just because of energy, you know. So I think the stakeholders really had a point in this particular story update regarding that matter, and I would really think they were right. We should actually kind of hold back. Let's get to understand this thing, man. I mean, it's the implications we are talking about are generational. You know, take a look at Japan. Atomic bomb in there. It's all energy related, and till today, the effects are all that. So it shows you how serious these matters are. I don't know whether our analysts really get time to look into these perspectives from a broader angle.
Okay.
You know, trying to see the possibilities. Sometimes we focus so much on the benefits, you know, and most of them they are focusing on that because it's selfish. They know they don't actually. They are looking at these benefits on a personal level.
All right. And by the look of things as well, the civil society organizations ask government to undo these efforts of joining the treaty because to them, it's an ultimate threat to climate justice.
Yeah.
Not only that, it is controversial.
It's controversial.
And it's undermining climate change initiatives according to what the civil society participants believe, or according to what the civil society organization stakeholders are believing. That is why they feel like government has to undo the efforts of joining this Energy Charter Treaty. As we have a look, you know, we have to first of all have a look at the implications, both negative and the positives. But according to the civil society organizations, it does look like it offers an ultimate threat to climate justice, and we should not be part of it, according to them. And besides that, when we return after the break, we have the latest from the SMB sports business, and of course, Smart Means business, talks entertainment business as well after the break. Good morning.